Ladies and gentlemen, I believe there is a lot of misinformation going around, especially on X right now, in regards to Tesla and specifically Elon Musk's bid to essentially hostile takeover the nonprofit, well, the for-profit in OpenAI. Yeah, it's complicated. There's actually two different sides of OpenAI's business. We will discuss that here in this video. But most importantly, as you are Tesla investors, if you're watching this video, what does this mean for Tesla stock? I know everyone has PTSD from 2022, but rest assured, as long as I'm not terribly missing something, or this turns into like a $500 billion crazy hostile takeover, if there's not some kind of crazy bid war, you're not going to see a 2022 scenario all over again. Not in 2025. I'll explain why that is here in this video. If Elon even needs to sell any Tesla shares, why I think he doesn't need to, and if he already did, well, he might have. I'll explain all of it here in this video. This is a critical one for all Tesla stock investors. Now, Elon Musk and a group of other investors, including Ron Barron's firm and some other well-known names, offered $97.4 billion for a bid to control OpenAI. Now, you're going to think, isn't Microsoft involved? Isn't, these other firms involved? Potentially SoftBank taking a $15 to $25 billion stake in OpenAI? Yes. OpenAI is split into two different companies in all reality. There is the nonprofit, there is the for-profit. The nonprofit makes the decisions for the for-profit. So the board of directors, if you will, is on the nonprofit side. So if the nonprofit wanted to get rid of somebody or make a decision about the for-profit, it goes through the nonprofit area of the business. Elon Musk said today in this breaking news article posted by the Wall Street Journal, quote, "It's time for OpenAI to return to the open source, safety-focused force for good it once was," Musk said in a statement provided by Toberoff. Quote, "We will make sure that happens." It says here, OpenAI created a for-profit subsidiary that has served as a vehicle for it to raise money from Microsoft and other investors. Altman is in the process of turning the subsidiary into a traditional company and spinning out the nonprofit, which would own equity in the new for-profit. So basically, it's like Tesla. If they wanted to spin off their full self-driving aspect of their business and create a whole new business that is separate from Tesla, what needs to happen is you essentially have to have the nonprofit on board with that. Now, the details are a little different when it's a nonprofit. You technically have to buy out the nonprofit, and we'll get into that in just a moment. It says here, one of the thorniest questions in the conversation has been how the nonprofit will be valued. Okay, Musk's bid sets a high bar and may mean that he or whoever runs the nonprofit would end up with a large and possibly controlling stake in the new OpenAI. The bid is being backed by Musk's own artificial intelligence company xAI, which could merge with OpenAI following a deal. He also has several investors backing him, including Valor Equity Partners, Baron Capital, Trades Management, VY Capital, and 8VC, a venture firm led by Palantir co-founder Joe Lonsdale. Ari Emanuel, CEO of Hollywood company Endeavor, and is also backing the offer through his investment fund. On January 7th, Toberoff sent a letter to the Attorney General in California, where OpenAI is based, and Delaware, where it is incorporated, asking that they open up bidding for the company to determine the fair market value of its charitable assets. Toberoff said Musk's investor group is prepared to match or exceed any bids higher than their own. Checkmate. So now you can see on Google here, it says OpenAI is transitioning from a nonprofit to a for-profit company with a dual model structure. The nonprofit will retain its governance and mission, while the for-profit will raise capital and commercialize AI research. So Elon's trying to take control of essentially the parent company of OpenAI, in which with a nonprofit company, right? When you're not supposed to make a profit, how do you value that? That's kind of the tricky part with trying to spin off an area of the business. Because for, same analogy here, if Tesla wanted to spin off FSD, okay, they would have to have a valuation for that asset, right? And Tesla would get paid, right? FSD theoretically would have to pay Tesla to spin off that aspect of their business, okay? How do you value that if it's a nonprofit? Well, you start taking in bids and see what the open market is willing to pay. It says here, OpenAI is in discussions to pay the nonprofit billions of dollars for it to give up control. So that's what it's about here. Elon's bid at $97 billion means that now OpenAI, instead of raising money, 15, 25 billion from SoftBank and all these billions of dollars from Microsoft, they would then have to go buy out OpenAI, the nonprofit portion, at a much, much steeper valuation. If Elon just ups the bid and Microsoft's like, yeah, dude, we're not gonna put 50 billion into this. And other people, right, say SoftBank say, oh yeah, we're not going to put money into that. Perhaps they start to side with Elon. Sam Altman gets ousted, and well, OpenAI is no longer a for-profit company if whoever buys it doesn't want it to be. And you can see from this thread on X from Nathan is in Dubai, which claims to personally know individuals from OpenAI and points out how people just seem to get fired and shady activity overall tends to happen in the company. It says here, though, let me skip all of the starter stuff here. It says, now Altman wishes to take OpenAI private. Let's consider the impacts of this. He will be able to raise money more easily, no duty to humanity, and he will become very rich. Okay, OpenAI discusses giving Altman 7% stake in the for-profit shift. So Altman's going to make a shit ton of money. Billions and billions and billions of dollars. Altman is currently worth about $1 billion today, not taking a stake in the company, mainly from investments such as Reddit, Stripe, and Airbnb. And he has an indirect interest in OpenAI through a small investment made by a fund in startup accelerator Y Combinator. Crazy thing to name a fund. Topic for another video. It says here, but one can't just take a non-profit private. Property rights matter. There are two OpenAIs. The non-profit owns the for-profit. So if Altman wants to run OpenAI as a for-profit, he will have to buy it from the non-profit, which is what he wants to do. But the current price that's being discussed is $40 billion, despite a recent valuation of $150. Why is the nonprofit selling its assets so cheaply? Well, I suggest it's because Altman is on the board of the nonprofit. He is part of the buyer and the seller. He is selling to himself. Of course, he wants to pay a lowball price. Seems like a colossal conflict of interest. And that's where things get interesting, because Elon Musk puts essentially the bid at $97.4 billion. So now you're going to have to up that. So essentially, Elon is trying to do, I don't want to call it a hostile takeover because you can't do that in a non-for-profit company. But essentially, that's what he's trying to do because of the court proceedings that OpenAI has already done and splitting off a subsidiary company from OpenAI for profit. Now they're trying to buy that off of or spin it off pretty much of the nonprofit. Well, now Elon's saying, nope, it's going to be worth a lot more than that. You're going to have to come up with a lot more money. And honestly, I think nobody else tried to do this before because, well, I don't think anyone else wanted to go up against Microsoft and SoftBank and some of the big boys out there. But Elon Musk is the biggest of all. And see, now the question is, because Sam Altman came out and said that they're not going to do this deal with Elon, but it's not his choice. If Elon is offering $97.4 billion, they can no longer lowball, $40 billion because there is a at-the-market offer currently by Elon at $97 billion. It would be like, at an auction, right? This is essentially what Elon could be doing, like if he wanted to. Somebody offers $200,000 on a house. Somebody ups that to $300,000. You up it again to $400,000, right? And you're just driving the price up because you don't like him or whatever. But instead of getting it at a low price, now he's got to pay a lot more when you never had the intention of buying it anyways. That's possibly what could be happening here. But unfortunately, I do think Elon is serious about acquiring OpenAI. One, because I think obviously he does not like Sam Altman, and well, he made it pretty clear in recent days, suggesting he was not going to buy TikTok because he doesn't buy businesses unless they benefit mankind in some way. He doesn't do it for a monetary gain, and it seems pretty clear that OpenAI is a pretty shady character in their for-profit segment, and well, getting that out of the hands of Sam Altman while preventing him from making billions, tens of billions of dollars is probably a good thing for humanity. Now, here's the deal. This is kind of like a trade war, if you will. You have Elon that just offered $97.4 billion. You could have another company offer $100 billion, and then Elon would have to up that again. This could be some kind of eternal power struggle where now if the floor is set at $97.4 billion, or the bid, if you will, to basically acquire the assets of OpenAI, then Sam Altman, Microsoft, SoftBank, they may have to put up a lot more money. And then it really becomes a question of, do you want to back Sam Altman? Do you want to back Elon? What's Elon's ultimate goals for OpenAI? It's going to be a long process. Okay, there's a lot of complicated things going on here. But essentially, you could start raising the bid. And if Elon needs to go higher and higher and higher, if there is some competition from Sam Altman and Microsoft and SoftBank, then that would be, I guess, the issue. Because the nonprofit's going to be there regardless, right? It's the for-profit segment that is trying to be spun off. Now, I think we should talk about Tesla stock. What does this really mean for Tesla? Well, considering there's multiple different backers with Elon's not going to have to put up the whole $97 billion, although he's probably going to put up a decent amount. Now, it's actually xAI that is backing this deal. So it's not Tesla, it's not Elon personally, it's xAI, essentially, okay? Probably putting up 20 billion, 25 billion, whatever the magical number is, your guess is as good as mine. And then the other firms and partners are putting up capital as well. But it doesn't mean Elon has to sell any Tesla stock. If Elon owns hundreds of billions of dollars worth of Tesla, not to mention his other companies, he doesn't need to sell that. He could potentially just borrow against it if he only has to put up a relatively small amount of money, like 20, 25 billion. He could just borrow against this Tesla stock because no bank's going to underwrite Tesla as potentially losing 90%, right? In the worst case scenario, Tesla stock would have to lose like 80, 85% for the banks to lose money on backing that 20, 25 billion. So theoretically, just the same as you build up a portfolio into $1 billion portfolio. Instead of paying 30+% capital gains taxes or even long-term capital gains taxes on your stocks when you sell them, what do rich people do? They go out, they say, hey, bank, I have $1 billion in assets. Can I borrow $3 million, $10 million, 25, 50 million, whatever the number is, at 6%? Instead of paying 30%, will you give it to me at 6%? Banks go, oh yeah, you got $1 billion of assets. There's no way in hell these stocks are going to fall that much. We're good. There you go. There's your 50 million or whatever the number is. And you never have to sell your stock. Borrowing against assets. So that's one thing that I would point out. That Elon has not clarified whether or not he is planning on selling any Tesla stock, but he does not need to. And Tesla is not directly tied to this acquisition, okay? It's XAI. It's not even, it's Elon, because Elon owns XAI, right? He has other investors in that, but it's really coming from XAI. So if XAI was listed, then that would be more of a negative for XAI. But again, Elon is heavily associated with Tesla, so we kind of compare the two. And that's why Tesla stock sold off so much today. Other scenario that I would share with you is Tesla has already fallen from $488 per share to $350 per share. $140 drop or so. Who's to say Elon has not already sold Tesla stock? After all, I've talked about it in videos many times now. You've gotten a lot of good news for Tesla, and it just does nothing positive to the stock. The stock continues to fall. Now, I don't think Elon has been selling shares, but if he already did, it's probably over with. If he did. And the kind of crappy thing about that is by the time Elon is selling shares, he'll be done selling shares by the time you ever knew he was selling shares to begin with. So Elon could come out tomorrow and say, yeah, I sold 20 billion worth of Tesla. I'm no longer selling. I'll bet your ass that's the bottom, because people say, oh yeah, he's not selling anymore. Okay, so that's kind of the hard part, is saying, hey, has Elon already sold shares? As the stock is down almost 30% from its all-time high, what are the odds that if he did sell shares, the selling is already over with? I would argue probably high. Now, I know a lot of people have PTSD because what was happening in 2022, but in fact, Elon buying Twitter and selling Tesla stock was not the main reason why Tesla sold off so much. We got to remember this. Tesla was, cutting prices like crazy. Margins were eroding. There was a 100% chance of a recession, according to Bloomberg. That's why Tesla was selling off so much. Okay, sure, Elon selling Tesla shares did not help, okay? But it was not the main reason Tesla had a bad year in 2022. So we kind of associate Elon selling stock to buy X as what we could expect to happen, like some kind of massive decline for Tesla. We're in a much different place these days, guys. Robotaxis are launching in June. Nothing takes away from that. Nothing takes away from all of the great things going on at Tesla. So we're in a much different environment. Theoretically, if Elon did sell 20, 30 billion in Tesla, whatever the number is, it wouldn't be nearly as bad as it was before. Could Tesla sell off? Sure, it's already sold off almost 30%. He may have already sold. And by the time you know he sold, it's too late. The stock's going to bottom. Most likely. But he doesn't need to sell Tesla stock. So I look at the balance of risks here. I say, what are the odds Tesla or Elon's going to sell a lot more Tesla shares? Probably not high. He doesn't need to. If he wants to, he can. I don't think he does want to, because he wants 25% voting power in Tesla stock. And that's not going to be a good look if he starts selling Tesla shares. And, and from that premise, with the stock down 30%, I personally don't like trying to sell Tesla here, trying to buy it back at lower prices. Can Tesla fall more? Yes. And it probably will. Probably will. But I don't think we're in for another 30% or 20%. Could you fall 10% further from here, just as people kind of understand the situation and what's going on? If there is a bidding war that starts to take place, sure. That would put the stock back to about 315. Okay. Could you fall 20% from here? I think that's where you start to get into very unlikely territory, because at that point, I think you're really discounting the things that are going on at Tesla. Robotaxi, Optimus, new Model Y, FSD in China here this year, and Europe this year, as far as we know. Like, that is still happening, and you can't forget that at the same time. So I do think if Tesla falls materially from here, that is a hell of a buying opportunity. I mean, that's like the same equivalent of Tesla, back in 2022. Going back now, you would have bought every single share you possibly could have at $101. I know I would. Okay. And I did do a lot of buying at that time, but it's never enough, right? We're greedy capitalists. Okay. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think about this down below in the comments section. I think markets are jittery. They're panicky. The stock can fall more, but I think we're in a pretty good situation now. As long as this thing does not get into a bid war, and imagine we're talking $200 billion or something a couple days from now. That's where it's like, hey, Elon might have to sell more Tesla shares. But if we do get an opportunity to buy lower, if Wall Street does freak out about this, then I think that would be an opportunity well worth jumping on. But don't be surprised if Elon comes out anytime and says, guys, I'm not selling Tesla. Like, I don't need to. Okay? It's kind of how Elon rolls. The stock is down 0.67% in overnight trading. Not exactly a move that I would say is super panicky of Elon, about to dump on the markets. Again, the stock's down almost 30% from all-time highs. I think you've discounted what some selling could look like. Wouldn't surprise me if he had been selling. I don't think he needs to. I don't think he is. Would I be shocked? No. So this is kind of my thought here. It's kind of like the tariff situation. If it gets worse, if the numbers go up, the bid goes up, that's where you could see a little bit more uneasy trading in Tesla. But, until that happens, I don't think you should get too jittery. And I know a lot of people are already on X saying Tesla's going to 200. No, I don't think so. Because again, you can't discredit what Tesla is doing. And ultimately, I think you're getting to the point where even if Elon sells a bunch of Tesla stock, it makes sense to own the stock at these prices or to buy more. So hopefully that provided a little bit of clarity to this situation. This is clearly not a 2022 over again, but some people kind of think it is. So let me know what you guys think about this down below in the comment section. If I missed something, feel free to let me know. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one.